name is Jenny, and I'm a wife and mom raising 2 kids. But I used to live a more glamorous life as a TV reporter. I was on the nightly news interviewing pop stars and politicians. So when I said goodbye to TV and hello to motherhood, I suddenly discovered what we moms are up against. We live in a world that tells us to be rich and famous, thin and successful. You know, almost nobody says, "Oh, hey, you're a mom? That's fabulous." But you are fabulous, and I'm here to tell you why.
It's the Channel Mom Show, celebrating you with Jenny Dean Schmidt.
Welcome back to the Channel Mom Show, where we are celebrating you, Mom. Just hear that. We're celebrating you right here on Mile High Sports Radio, AM 1510, FM 93.7. And we're going to get right to our guest, Matthew West. If you're a fan, let me just tell you a little bit about him. How often do you hear that a well-known pop star or music artist loves to support the cause of motherhood? I'm referring to Matthew West, who's received a Grammy nomination and worked with the likes of Rascal Flatts, Vince Gill, and Amy Grant. He's just released that new Christmas CD I referred to, with New York Times calls it one of the year's most inventive releases. The man behind this CD is Matthew West, as I said, and he's in Denver this weekend to do a benefit concert just for moms, to raise money for moms. So enjoy my interview with Mr. West. Alrighty, Matthew, welcome to the Channel Mom Show today. We want to thank you for being here. And I also want to thank you, just to start out, for being a person in a high-profile position who has chosen to shine the spotlight on moms, because you're coming to Denver just to do that. Is that not correct?
Yeah, we're on a Christmas tour right now. Myself and American Idol alumni Mandisa are on the Heart of Christmas tour, and one of our stops is in the Denver area in Littleton, and we have some good friends with the MOPS organization, Mothers to Preschoolers, and we've teamed up with them in the past, and we decided to bring our Christmas tour to town. All the proceeds are going to go to support MOPS and what they're doing to help impact the lives of young moms who are just trying to make it all work with all the hard work that they have to do.
Absolutely, and I thank you for that. I was somebody who participated in MOPS, and I was actually a leader in MOPS. And I'm going to tell you a story. I want to refer to your song More, which we're going to play right now.
Take a look at the mountain, stretching a mile high. Take a look at the ocean, far as your eye can see. And think of me. Take a look at the desert. Do you feel like a great...
And then, this is my story, Matthew. I was headed to the MOPS convention in Minneapolis at the time. I was a mother of 2 children, and my daughter, my youngest, was only about 2 years old, and then I had an older son who was about 6, and I had never left them before. I had been in television, and then I'd become a stay-at-home mom, and this was going to be the first time I really left them, got on a plane and left them. And Matthew, I want you to know how important your song was to me, because I was sitting in the car and I was literally sobbing because I was terrified to leave my kids. I was terrified something was going to happen to me and I'd never see them again. And so I was sitting in my car outside of my house crying and crying and crying. And your song More came on. And I live in the Rocky Mountains. And the beginning of it says stretching a mile high, you know, talking about the mountains stretching a mile high, and then talking about God's love for me in the midst of all that, and that I could trust it. And I cannot tell you how that song spoke to me that day and gave me the courage to get on the plane to go to a MOPS convention. So it's interesting to me that you're coming to town to do that. I hope that means something to you, that happened for me.
You know, it always amazes me how, you know, maybe somebody might hear just the right song with just the right words at just the right time. And, you know, those kind of stories just remind me that long after a song is written, there's just no way of knowing how it might encourage somebody in the course of their day and find them when they're going through something. So that's a really awesome story. And yeah, we'll be singing that song when we come to Denver. And that song carries a special meaning every time I sing it in Denver, because as you mentioned, it talks about, you know, just the wonder of and the beauty of God's creation. And, you know, I can think of no less majestic sight than when I head to Colorado and I get to see the mountains just tracing the sky. It's beautiful.
It is, and you're going to get to see them snow-covered because I braved a storm just to get down here to do this interview today, so you'll get to see them
Right.
snow-covered. But I want to thank you for writing that song because on that day, I felt as though you had written it just for me, straight from God, because I needed to hear that he was speaking particularly to me, and I was sitting in the Mile High Mountains. And so the fact that you had that line in there, I thought, okay, then that is definitely for me. And I stopped crying, and I felt like God was just going to carry me on that plane and bring me back to my kids safely, which he did. So thank you so much for doing it.
Thank you.
No problem. Let's talk about the mothering thing really briefly before we get to your Christmas album, which is brand new and I want to tell people about. You have a wife named Emily and you have 2 daughters and you tell some funny stories about your daughters. Why do you have a heart for motherhood? Has Emily and having children yourself just shown you the importance of it and how it's probably an unsung task in this country, how we lift up so many more things than we do motherhood and moms kind of fall through the cracks sometimes? Tell me about your heart for moms.
Well, I just have the utmost respect for my wife, you know, watching her go from a wife to a mother and just all that she does on a daily basis. For example, you know, today I'm in South Dakota and she's holding down the fort, taking care of my 2 daughters and just, I mean, from school to meals to, you know, laundry, to housework, I mean, you name it. And on top of that, she is actively at work in different philanthropic endeavors. You know, right now she's actually got a program where she's working with a nonprofit healthcare center in Nashville, and she's gotten 30 families sponsored by other families who have agreed to provide those families who can't afford it with Christmas gifts for all their children.
Oh, that's
and you know, I look at my wife and I just see all that she's doing, and I'm blown away. And I realize that, you know, I have a lot of families that come to my concerts. You know, I'm sort of a family-friendly artist. A lot of moms and dads and bringing their kids, and I love seeing that. And I guess just as I watch my wife, and I'm just so blown away by all that she does. You know, to be a part of an event with MOPS and it's just hopefully another chance for me to get to say thank you to all the moms out there who are working hard, making sure that their children are being raised in the right way and that those children know that they're loved, especially because, you know, I come across so many people who are in situations where they don't have parents and they don't have a mom who cares about them. They're, you know, they're trying to figure out life on their own. And when I see those heartbreaking stories, it makes me that much more grateful for people like my wife who are doing life even when life gets hard.
Well, God bless her. See, look at that. She's mothering other people. And I swear to you, mothers make the world go round. So I'm so grateful that you see that. Let me get briefly to the fact that you also include that in your songs. You To Me, I believe, is a song where you talked about the heart of a mother for her son who was, you know, sort of bullied in school because he was born different.
Yeah.
And he was kind of teased. And then you saw him through the eyes of his mother in that song, which I think is absolutely beautiful.
Oh, thank you. You know, as a songwriter, I'm a storyteller at heart, and I kind of went on this creative experiment, sort of as a songwriter in search of his next story. I asked people to send me their story. I received over 10,000 stories from all over the U.S. and 20 countries around the world. So I spent 2 months. I camped out in this cabin in Tennessee, and I read every single one of those stories. And my life absolutely changed by these stories that I read. And you know, there were many stories I read that were from moms. They were just sharing with me about what they were dealing with their children, what they were dealing with in their home life, maybe in their marriages. And, one of those stories in particular was from a mother with a young child who's being bullied at school. This child has gone into middle school and was contemplating suicide at one point, and the mother just kept saying, I just wish he could see how I see him, you know, and so I wanted to write a song from that perspective. And, you know, I put myself in that position, too, as a parent going, man, if my kid only knew just how beautiful they are and just how special and how one in a million they are. And that's what I always try to instill in my children, that, man, God made them the way that they are for a reason.
Yeah.
They are unique. They are uniquely designed. And no matter what the world says, don't ever let that stop your dreaming.
Absolutely. And those stories are contained in the story of your life, which I'm holding up now for the camera because we videotape this, inspiring stories of God at work and people just like you. And I have been reading this book, and it is very inspiring, and I encourage people to go out and get it because it reminds moms of what a huge impact they have in their children's lives. And just that very true thing, that God puts a purpose in every single person's life, and you record that in this book, which I love. So thank you for that.
Well, there's a CD called The Story of Your Life where all 11 songs are taken and inspired by those stories I read, and then, as you mentioned, the book. And both of those things, the book and the CD, man, they're really powerful tools for not just for moms, but for everybody to kind of to listen to or read the book and read these real life stories. You can't help but hear a song or read these stories and be reminded that all of our lives have a story to tell. And you know, even if you're just a working mom and you feel like what you're doing is insignificant, these stories that I read and the songs that were written as a result are really the proof that there's no such thing as an insignificant life or an insignificant story. Every single story has the chance to impact and touch the world around it.
Amen. So I'm glad you said that. Matthew, we have about 3 minutes left, so I want to get to your new CD, which is wonderful. And the New York Times even gives it a rave review, that you are a vivid and compelling songwriter, and says it's one of the most inventive holiday CDs. So that's good to hear, because sometimes it's the same old, but yours is new. So briefly, let's talk about your new CD, The Heart of Christmas, and the fact that it's also tied to a movie that has a great story. Just briefly tell me about that.
Well, The Heart of Christmas is really a dream come true for me. I've always wanted to make a Christmas album, so this is my first chance to do so. It's a combination of some of my favorite classic Christmas songs where I had the chance to sort of find my inner Michael Bublé, and then, you know, songs that I've written that, you know, hopefully approach the topic of Christmas songs from a unique perspective. It also features some special appearances by Vince Gill, Mandisa from American Idol, who I'm on tour with, and also the great Amy Grant. And, you know, the album really centers around this message of hoping to point people this time of year back to the true heart of Christmas. And a family that helped me find the heart of Christmas inspired a couple of the songs on the album. It was a young couple whose little boy Dax was diagnosed with leukemia, a rare form of it, high risk. Spent 18 months at St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital, and their story really touched me, and what happened in their community really touched me. I won't give the entire story away, but you need to listen to these songs and check out the movie that was filmed inspired by it. It's called The Heart of Christmas. It's going to be on the GMC network on Sunday, December 4th at 7 o'clock and 9 o'clock. And then it will be also airing all throughout the holiday season. And it tells the story of what happened with this special family and what this community did to rally around this child and make sure that he could have one last Christmas. So it's a bit of a tearjerker, both the song and the movie, but it's tears of joy, and it's a good cry. And I don't know about you, but come this time of year, I think it's a good thing to check our pulse and make sure that we're feeling something.
Absolutely, Matthew. There is no harm in crying. Mommies know that, if anybody knows that. And so I urge people to go watch that movie, because it'll bring them back to what really Christmas is all about. And also, you're raising money through for St. Jude's, and I appreciate that, because I believe that Dax went through St. Jude's. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And
so we're on a mission right now to raise $1.7 million for St. Jude's. I know it's a lofty goal, but that's how much it costs to run the hospital for just one day. And this young family who lost their little boy is on a mission to raise that amount so that they can run the hospital for one day in honor of their little boy Dax, in the hopes that another child's life could be saved on that day. You can find out how to give. If you want to join, and it's $1 for Dax is the name of the program, go to MatthewWest.com, and you can find out all the information about both the movie and the CD, as well as how you can make a donation to St. Jude's and make a difference in the life of a child this Christmas.
And Matthew, that is the reason I asked you to be on today, because you are making a difference in your music, in your book, and with movies that are extending from that, and then raising money for others. And I know that when moms are hearing you today, that you're going to make a difference in their lives. And so I thank you so, so much for reaching out to moms and to children and to families, because so few people do in this country that are in high-profile positions. So I just so appreciate you, and I urge every mom who's listening to go ahead and look you up and look up some of those things that you're trying to help. So thank you so much. Have a beautiful Merry Christmas with your family.
All right. Merry Christmas. Thanks.
Bye-bye.